The Healthy Relationships Committee decided to film a video to share the experiences of real high school students across the county regarding toxic relationships.
The content in this video may be triggering. Viewer discretion is advised.
My ex-boyfriend was abusive, and at the time, I didn't recognize the red flags. It eventually took a toll on me, both mentally and physically, as my body was rejecting the toxic relationship. In an attempt to escape, I got involved with someone I thought was a friend, only to find that he was emotionally abusive and touched me inappropriately. My attempt to leave one abusive situation only led me into something worse. These experiences caused significant trauma, which ultimately led me to seek professional help. Wow. I know how difficult it can be to be in a toxic relationship, and I think because of that, it just seems you just want to escape so bad that you're just going to jump into the right next thing that you think is going to be even slightly better than what you were coming from. And that can sometimes be just as dangerous, because you could get into a situation that's still toxic, and just it being slightly better, you think it's acceptable, and it's really not. Like, someone who's emotionally abusive and touching you in ways that you aren't comfortable with is never okay, even if it seems like that was better than what you came from previously. And that's awful that somebody would even think of doing that to another person. I am proud of the person who wrote this for feeling brave enough to seek professional help, because what they went through was unacceptable and they shouldn't have to deal with that alone.
I was in a relationship with a girl who initially swore to me that she didn't use any substances. However, about a month into our relationship, she revealed that she had been vaping frequently for a long time. When I confronted her about breaking my trust, she was dismissive, brushing it off as if it wasn't a big deal. Over time, she continued to betray my trust and the trust of our friends on multiple occasions. Looking back, I'm grateful I was able to walk away from that relationship. This is a difficult situation because when you're investing your life into one person, it's hard for you to walk out and have that awareness. But I am grateful that this person was able to talk to their friends about it, they weren't alone in the situation, so that obviously helps it. And I'm grateful that they were able to walk away from that relationship, because so many people can be blind to the fact that what they are in is unacceptable to an extent that they don't deserve that type of treatment.
A family member frequently accuses me of being rude or disrespectful, yet they would often treat me the same, if not worse. However, because they were older, their behavior was never seen as an issue. I mean, I feel like this is definitely a problem in a lot of familiar situations, because like it's a situation that happens to them, and then since they're now the ones in power, they would do the same to you. I feel like my best advice would be to for one, stand up for yourself when you're old enough and being able to support yourself, but also not do the same thing to the next generation.
There can certainly be a lot of uncomfortable moments when you're a teenager. And I think I can speak for most people. When you feel like you're being disrespectful and you feel like you're causing harm to another person's behalf, it really does affect you, and it does make you feel negatively about yourself. So I feel like when you're feeling like you're being disrespectful, just know that as a teenager that there is really uncomfortable moments, and just try to be as kind as you possibly can. And know that as a teenager, everyone works through their own problems, and you might not be being disrespectful and rude. You're just maybe overthinking. So just keep that in mind.
Growing up, my father struggled with addiction and alcoholism, creating a toxic environment for our family every day. It was a painful situation because despite my love for him, he consistently put us in danger, which made it hard to forgive. His passing in 2015, as a result of his addiction, was a turning point for me. It opened my eyes and inspired me to become an advocate for substance use, awareness, and support.
This one is tough. I feel like I relate to it a little bit. My dad also passed away in 2015, and he also did have an alcohol problem. So I think that it's really important to realize that there's a different person behind the alcoholism and the person that they are when they're drinking alcohol. But it's also super important to acknowledge that you don't have to put yourself in that situation just because you love that person when they're not drinking. Sometimes substances like that in any aspect at any age of life can be very harmful for the person doing them, but just as much for their community and their family. So it's really important to set boundaries for yourself, even though you care and love about this person.
Lately, I've barely been talking to my sister, even though we live under the same roof. She's been avoiding conversation, and when I try to ask her something, she either doesn't respond or gives me short, one-word answers. This can be tough because it's obviously your sister, you care for her, you love her, and you live with her. But it's also important to communicate with her and maybe even like tie your parents in or your guardians to kind of get a better understanding of the situation. Like maybe your sister is going through something that you aren't aware of, and this is where communication is really important to figure out solutions to the situation and reduce like the impact of harmful consequences that could occur.
I have a twin brother, and I feel like I have shared a very similar problem with him. And I know it's so difficult because sharing a womb with someone, for like in my case, you want to have that close bond with them and be able to have that communication. And when they don't provide that for you, it feels like an attack on yourself. Like you feel like there's an obligation that goes into being a sibling and being so close. Like you should be able to communicate. And when that doesn't happen, it's really painful. But the best solution that I found is just, even if they don't want to talk in the moment, being able to be a person that can just silently be there as an option for them to always have so they know that they're not alone is the best way to go. Because if they don't want to talk in the moment, they are definitely struggling with something internally. And even if they can't get it out in the moment, if they know they're not alone and that you will be there to listen or to give advice or even just to hear what they have to say whenever they're willing to open up, then that's really the best way you can handle it.
I was in a bad place in my life and believed I had two best friends who would support me no matter what. But as soon as I got a boyfriend, they turned on me, teaming up to spread rumors about how terrible of a person I was. I feel like a lot of high schoolers in our day and age right now can relate to this a lot. Sometimes when you have this super close relationship with friends and you go and you get a boyfriend or a girlfriend, they can kind of feel betrayed that you're spending time with other people. So they find a way to make you feel bad for it, even though that's not what they should be doing. Although I can understand their perspective, not in the aspect of spreading rumors about you, but being upset that they don't have you all the time anymore. But that's when communication is really important, and to explain to your friends that they're still important to you. But you also have another important person in your life. But in this scenario, I understand that how frustrating it can be, especially when rumors are being made about you that aren't true.
This person had been manipulative in the past, but assured me they had changed. Since most of my other friends were getting along with her, I decided to give her another chance. Unfortunately, she ended up manipulating us all again. This is a tough situation. I know a lot in children now and teenagers now, manipulating friends is it's a tough situation because you may not even know that you're manipulating the other person and using them, but it is such a hurtful thing to the other person. It's really important that this person gave her friend another chance, because second chances are super important, because it could have been a mistake or an accident in the past. So giving a second chance was definitely a really cool thing to do. But again, manipulating can be so detrimental and harmful to a person and their mental health. So I think that, yes, it was really, really important that they gave them a second chance, but don't let that demean yourself, and don't let them take advantage of you and lessen your self-worth just for another person.
He had been one of my closest friends since 7th grade. We did everything together, and I spent almost every weekend having dinner at his house. He once admitted to having feelings for me, but I made it clear that we were just friends, and he respected that. However, the summer before my sophomore year, our whole friend group was hanging out, and I was with my best friend when he pulled me aside to ask for advice about a girl. I didn't think much of it, as it was a common question for him to have. But as he led me deeper into a darker, more isolated spot, I started to feel uneasy. While he was talking about the girl, he suddenly kissed me. I didn't say anything at first, as we had kissed before, and I didn't want to be rude. But things quickly escalated beyond what I was comfortable with. I said no to his demands multiple times, but he did not respect my wishes. After this happened, I blamed myself for months, unable to comprehend how my friend could treat me that way. In the aftermath, all of my friends from the group stopped talking to me, yet they continued to stay close with him. That's a lot to go through, and it's such an emotional toll for one person to take when the people you think are closest to you go and turn their backs on you, when something had impacted you so deeply. I know that this person had said that this person who was supposed to be their best friend violated them in ways that they didn't feel comfortable, and they had expressed multiple times that their boundaries were being overtaken. And because of that, it's very hurtful. You would blame yourself because you think that person would never do something to you because of the relationship that you had. But because of that, you were taken advantage of. I can tell that this person is very sincere and kind, and because of that, people will take advantage of that at times. And so you need to be able to stand up for yourself, especially because it's really isolating when your friends won't believe the struggles that you went through and you know how much it had impacted you. It can make you feel like you're not validated, or that what you did was your fault, but it's not your fault. And you did a good job for saying that you weren't comfortable and trying to set that boundary. It wasn't your fault that it was stepped upon and it was intruded upon. And nothing that you did impacts how you are as a person, or it diminishes your character. If anything, you are strong for being able to take what happened to you and grow and not let it define who you are.
Hello, my name is Tina Simmons. I'm the Director of Domestic Violence Victim Services at the Hamden District Attorney's Office. I'm one of the victim witness advocates who helps victims of crime navigate the court process. In my role in the Hamden Superior Court, I work on cases involving domestic violence, homicides, sexual assaults, and high-risk domestic and dating violence cases. I also assist individuals who need to appear before a judge to request restraining orders for their protection. I was truly impressed by the students who worked on this project, especially because they chose to focus on the topic of healthy relationships. This is an incredibly important subject, one that can impact you not only now, but long into your future. I'd like to take a few minutes to comment on some of the scenarios that stood out to me. First, to the student who wrote about their father's substance use disorder, I thought the advice about having sympathy, but also boundaries was exactly right. It's even more critical when safety is at risk, as the student described that sometimes they would be in danger. Safety must always be non-negotiable. Sometimes families may need to seek orders of protection to keep a loved one away temporarily until things stabilize. When there are threats to someone's physical safety, the court can provide relief. Additionally, if a person in recovery is at serious risk of harming themselves, a family member can ask the court to have them civilly committed and sent to a treatment center. It's important to remember that restraining orders are just civil orders. It only becomes a criminal matter if someone breaks the order or doesn't follow the judge's instructions. Advocates like me are available to help families through that process. Unfortunately, there were also a couple scenarios involving inappropriate or non-consensual touching, something we sadly see far too often through our caseloads. In one story, a student tried to leave a toxic relationship only to find themselves in a worse situation. In another, a student was kissed by her best friend, then he continued and refused to respect her multiple no's. In both of these cases, it sounds like a crime may have occurred. You cannot pressure someone into a yes, as she described by his multiple demands. And just because they had kissed before doesn't mean that she was consenting to this time. Consent must be freely given each time and can be withdrawn at any time. So what are your options on how to handle this? Tell a parent or trusted adult. Tell a friend who could maybe help you connect with a trusted adult. If that doesn't feel possible, you can call, text, or chat live with a confidential domestic and sexual violence hotline. They're completely confidential. You don't have to give your name. They can walk you through your options, and hotlines are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can also go directly to a police station. Specialized detectives are trained to have these conversations. They can explain whether a crime has occurred, what your options are, and the next steps to help keep you safe. Another important topic that wasn't raised in the scenarios, and I hope no one here has experienced it, involves the sharing of sensitive images. In court, we unfortunately see many cases where someone shares intimate photos during a dating relationship, and after a breakup, those images are used to hurt or blackmail them. Sometimes it's to force the person back into the relationship. Sometimes it's simply to bully or humiliate them. Let's be very clear, sharing explicit photos without consent is a crime. Along with criminal charges, the courts can also issue civil restraining orders to protect victims. So what are some of the signs of a healthy relationship? Feeling comfortable being yourself without fear of being criticized or ridiculed by your partner when you're alone with them and when you're together with friends. Feeling free to not answer every call or text immediately without fear of conflict. Being able to make your own choices about how you spend your time, and not feeling anxious or fearful about your partner's reaction. If you find yourself constantly worried that your boyfriend or girlfriend will get angry, or if you ever feel afraid of them physically, that is something to pay attention to, and it's something you should talk to somebody about. Finally, you can find the resources that I mentioned, including the hotline, the warning signs, safety planning tools by scanning the QR code provided. Thank you for listening, and thank you for caring about healthy relationships.